Our first question is from Jake Anderson with Kingside Press.
Thanks very much, and welcome back, Dan. Big main event coming up, big opponent. I wanted to start with something I asked Dustin as well. I mean, this is a fight that's been called very fan-friendly. Do you get a little more excited for a matchup like this?
Yeah, it's very easy to get excited when you're facing an opponent like Dustin Poirier. I know he's going to come to fight, and he's going to bring the exact same thing that I'm going to bring. We both look to finish and both look to put on a show. So I as well as the fans, know why this is going to be a good one, because we've never been in a boring fight in our lives. So I'm not expecting that to change come Saturday.
And I mean, pandemic aside, does it seem like all of a sudden lightweight has a big opening? Tony Ferguson loses, Conor supposedly retired. This almost feels like if you get a win here, you could be slipping into that #1 contender spot.
Yeah, well, this is combat sports. The game can change so quickly, and I feel like the winner of this fight cements himself as the next guy, the guy that's going to step in. You know, should Khabib or Tony get injured, the guy that wins this fight is the guy that lines himself to step in for the title shot.
And then something kind of hit me, and is that, you know, this is such a big, important fight for your career, obviously, and it's happening not in the best circumstances with the pandemic going on. So how did that impact you coming into this in terms of your training? Did you get the camp that you really wanted?
Well, you can look at other fighters capitalizing on this opportunity. You can look at Gilbert Burns. The guys that stay ready, the guys that stay committed, and the guys that want to fight are the ones that are getting fights and the ones that are progressing their career. So I feel like I'm in exactly the same position. I'm here. I'm going to set myself up with a title shot because I can capitalize on the opportunity, because I stayed motivated when, you know, all through this pandemic, all through lockdown, through borders getting shut. I stayed training, I stayed hungry, I stayed fit, and I stayed ready so that I could make the most of this opportunity. You know, I can live with the UFC telling me that they can't get me. I can live with them saying the fight's off because you can't get a visa. I can't live with them coming to me with a fight, them coming to me saying, do you want to fight Dustin Poirier? And I can't accept it because I took my foot off the gas because of some kind of lockdown or quarantine. So I'm coming into this fight motivated and ready.
And I was going to ask you about Gilbert Burns because you actually have a win over him. So what are your thoughts on that matchup and him fighting for the welterweight title?
Yeah, he was an incredible fighter. He had an incredible skill set when we fought. It's just the nature of the game. Anything can happen inside of that octagon. So I'm happy for him. You know, his success he's found in his career, his success at welterweight, and him challenging for the title. I wish him nothing but success.
And last one for me, obviously with Justin getting past Tony and getting that huge win there, he's got the date with Khabib. Who do you see coming out on top in that fight? How do you see it going?
I see that as a challenging fight for Khabib. Honestly, it's a 50-50 in my opinion. If you're going to design a fighter to give Khabib trouble, it's going to be a strong defensive wrestler with great cardio and heavy hands, and that is Justin Gaethje's skill set. So that's a 50-50 matchup, and I guess it'll be the toughest test of Khabib's career.
And obviously you'll be happy to fight either one after that.
Yeah, definitely happy. I feel like stylistically me and Gaethje match up well. Two strikers, someone that's going to stand in and trade with me, that's exciting. But it's also exciting to be the one that takes the O of Khabib. That'll be a huge feather in your cap for your career and kind of cements you as one of the best in the world.
Well, obviously a big fight this weekend. First, best of luck come Saturday.
Thank you very much.
The next question is from Julian with Independent.
Kia ora, Dan. How are you, sir?
Yeah, kia ora. How you going?
Good, thank you. Just a quick question, man. Obviously, we know the Super Rugby's kicked off. Fans are in the stadium. It's quite awesome. New Zealand taking the lead in terms of fans getting in the park. How excited is it for you to know that you're representing, along with another elite group of athletes in terms of the rugby players, and you're representing the New Zealand flag also on this big stage with the UFC?
You can definitely feel, the people in New Zealand getting excited about it and hyped about it, having sport shut down for so long and the future was so uncertain and so unclear, but to have it all turn around so quickly and be able to travel to the US and compete is a lot of motivation for a lot of people, and to see everything getting back on track makes a lot of people motivated that they can get back on and find a bit of normality in their lives.
And just tell me, obviously you're based in Auckland. Are you a Blues boy? The guys have been doing quite well so far in the out there world competition.
Yeah. No, I'm Auckland born and bred, so I'm Blues by default, huh?
God bless, man. Thank you so much for your time, mate.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Carlos Contreras with Millennium.
Hey Dan, can you hear me there?
Yeah, mate.
I wanted to ask you, what would you attribute your success in lightweight, since it's one of the hardest divisions to climb up to? You had a lot of really tough opponents of this weight that you're now closer to the title fight. So what would you attribute your success in this division, and how would you remember your time in the 145 division?
Yeah, featherweight was like my apprenticeship. I view it as my apprenticeship in the UFC. I feel like I got in the UFC a little early, and I knew that when I did sign the contract first a little early, but I was able to learn and develop on the job, and I feel like I finished my apprenticeship up at featherweight, and then when I moved up to lightweight, I made the move back to New Zealand, committed myself full time to City Kickboxing and the coaches there, and that's the only reason why I'm here, and that's the reason why I've found success is my commitment to City Kickboxing and my team in New Zealand.
And obviously, when we see you fighting, even if it was in 145 or 155, you cannot help but think that you are a guy that can have the reach for even fighting in welterweight. Has it ever come to your mind to go fighting in welterweight, since you were speaking about that you fought recently with Gilbert Burns?
Yeah, I've fought at all kinds of weight classes throughout my career. Fought some big guys, fought down at 45. So weight classes don't mean too much to me. I'm happy to jump and switch between. I guess as I'm here for a long time. You can guarantee that. So I feel like as I get a little bit older, it gets a little bit harder to take that weight off. I'd be happy to move up to welterweight.
Just finally for me, how hard was to make the flight to the States? How many days you had to wait? You had any trouble with your making it to the border, or how hard was it for you to make it to the States?
Well, about a week ago, the ambassador to the US, Scott Smith, gave me a call. He gave me a phone call and he asked me what I needed from him. I needed a visa to get into the US. They weren't granting visas at the moment, so I got the visa done. He got it to me the very next day. So thank you, Scott Smith, the US ambassador for New Zealand.
Thank you, Dan.
Our next question is from Zion Vale with TV.
Good, bro. How are you?
Yeah, good brother.
I guess we caught up with you before you left, but how's it been to finally be there, and how was the travel, and how you feeling, basically?
Oh, but to be honest, it was pretty weird coming through the airport, having the gate shut when we arrived. There was only like 2 flights leaving. And once they opened the gate, we walked right through security because there was, not a lot of people. So it was the fastest I've ever gone through security. And then it was pretty crazy when we were landing down in LA. Everyone was putting their gloves on and putting their masks on. It was kind of everyone was getting ready for battle. You know what I mean? And then we're walking around the airport. Everything was closed in Auckland, all the shops. Everything was closed in LAX, all the shops as well. So it was a little bit eerie, but then once we arrived in Vegas, they were a little more relaxed at the airport. But the UFC has done a great job of keeping everything under control. Coronavirus tested us on arrival, kept us all isolated from everyone else. So I'm very happy with the precautions that they've been taking.
Does it feel quite surreal to be there, to be able to in a fight week that in the times that we're in at the moment?
Very, very surreal because it was completely all up in the air. But it's just crazy that I had this in my mind the entire time. I was like, the UFC is going to make this happen. Somebody's going to make this happen. May 16th was the date I was originally scheduled to fight Dustin, and it wasn't until like a week before that the UFC said we're going to have to shift that back a little bit. So this fight's been in the forefront of my mind the entire time. So I'm more just grateful that all that mental energy that I used to stay focused on this fight wasn't wasted, and I get to go out there and do what I love and perform on Saturday.
And to finally get the fight now and have a time frame for it to be set, do you feel that now that you're in the States, you're in the zone and you're in a good rhythm now to go out and put your best foot forward?
Yeah, like funny, fighting is a funny thing. You can get in that mode a little too early. We still got a couple of days. We got a weight cut. We got weigh-ins. We got all this stuff we got to take care of before it's time to fight. That mindset can shift in a split second. That mindset, I've seen it shift in other fighters walking out. I've seen it shift when they walk in the cage. I've seen them lose it or switch off. So that's just something that you have to bank on that you got. That's something that you either got or you don't got. And I know from experience, I've been in there many times before, that's something that I don't need to prepare. If someone tries to punch me in the head, I'm game.
And just finally for me, you said that this fight has been the forefront of your mind. For you, how big of an opportunity is this fight? And for you now, how big is it?
Yeah, well, it's the biggest opportunity of my career, my way to put myself in line for a title shot. Like with the win here, it sets me in line. Is the guy that takes on the winner of Khabib versus KG. So that's a very exciting opportunity, and that my life's goal is to be world champion, and I'm that close to it.
Cheers, bro. All the best for the weekend.
Cheers, bro.
Our next question is from Christopher with New Zealand Herald.
G'day, Dan.
Chrissy.
I saw you in a bit of trouble with the old throat swab. Did they actually manage to get a corona test on you?
No, they did. Well, I was I think Mike was the only one that didn't gag, so I'm not sure. Maybe that's failing the test. I'm not too sure.
Oh, good, man. And there's been so much talk about this fight being, I guess, the number one contender's fight in a sense. Does the loser just become a gatekeeper, or how do you see that?
Nah, people get to, people put too much stock. Like, this is fighting. Anything can happen. I don't think it's that big of a setback. Like, that's why for me, this fight especially is a win-win situation. Dustin's the one in the hard spot. He's in the win-lose situation. Like, with a win, he doesn't gain that much from it, and with a loss, he slides outside. He slides down the rankings. With me, I put myself in a great opportunity with a win, but with a loss, I don't think I moved that far down. I go back, I beat up Charles Oliveira or someone like that, and then I make my way back into the top 5. So win-win opportunity from where I'm sitting.
Sweet, man. And the flight over, were there many people on the plane, and how was not just yourself but the City Kickboxing boys settled in now that you're over there?
Yeah, that's the funny thing. The plane was actually packed coming over. There was like not a spare seat left on the plane. It was going through LA and heading to Europe. So I guess there's just a lot of European people that were stuck in New Zealand, a lot of travelers that have been waiting for the opportunity to make their way back home. So that was, this being one of the first flights out of the country, I think it was packed to the rafters.
Very good skill for the weekend, man.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Danny Segura with Energy Joe.
Hey Dan, just a couple of questions. Obviously you've been on people's radars for quite some time, but it feels like you turned a corner really after your Edson Barboza fight. I wonder if you agree, and also any takeaways from that defeat, and what kind of, do you think that defeat sparked something in you that allowed you to sort of turn that corner?
Yes and no. Like, yes and no. It's just the nature of the sport. I was clipped early in that round, and it was kind of just all downhill from there. People read a lot into that fight, but it's just he caught me with a good shot, and if you've ever been caught with a good shot before, you get a flash of white, your ears ring like crazy, and you're set on autopilot for a while. I was standing there on autopilot, took my legs out from under me. I go back to my corner, and I come back online when I was back in the corner, and I was like, all right, we're back online. And I looked down, and I was like, oh, well, shit, I got no legs. Guess we're going to have to change things up a bit. So, it was just a bit of change of tact, but it was, so to me, it wasn't that big of a deal, but to everyone else, like, they made a big deal, like, saying that you're going to quit, are you going to be done? Like, that's one ass whooping. I had many ass whoopings in my life, inside and outside of the cage. Like, you realize, once you had a couple ass whoopings, you realize that you're not made of glass, and you don't get smashed into a million pieces, and it's not that big of a deal, and you can get back on track. And so, but it also did motivate me, because I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder and a bit of something to prove after that, because so many people were doubting me.
And obviously, you just mentioned how, like, you're no stranger to wars and getting into these crazy fights. And recently, we've seen a lot of sort of criticism surrounding, perhaps in MMA we should see the towel get thrown in there more often, and maybe referees or cornermen stepping in and stopping fights. As a young guy, like, would you see that? And I guess, what are your thoughts on sort of this trend? Do you think MMA maybe does have a little bit of an issue, and it should maybe be a little bit more like boxing and throwing the towel a little bit more often?
Well, boxing's like an entirely different situation. Boxing, there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to change. Like, MMA is really not that difficult to quit. Like, there is guys like me can see it from a mile away. Like, a guy starts getting beat up, he shoots for a takedown and, like, gives up his neck and gives up a guillotine. Like, that's not that hard, and he can finish. He leaves out of there with his pride, and he can say, "Oh man, I got caught in a submission. Things happen." Like, it's not that difficult to quit. Like, if you go back to the Barboza fight, like, the ref asking you if you want to continue, the doctor's coming in and putting lights in your eyes. Like, it's not that difficult. When the doctor puts the light in your eyes to check, all you have to do, he goes, follow the light, and the light goes like this, and you follow it with your eyes. All you have to do is look dead ahead, and no one's gonna know you quit. Like, there's so many ways that you can look for a way out. So I don't know. I think we've already got, like, pretty, well-trained referees, doctors, cornermen. There are many different ways that a fight can be stopped.
Yeah. Now, we know your style. You like to use a lot of range, and obviously this is going to be in a smaller cage. Wondering if you did any adjustments in the camp to sort of get acclimated to that.
Just speeds things up a bit. Like, I like it benefits both of us, and it negatively impacts both of us. I like to set a lot of traps for my opponents with my striking. So a smaller cage means that those traps are easier to set up. I'm sure he'll want to push me against the cage at some point. So that'll make it easier too. So it benefits both of us and negatively impacts both of us.
Yeah, for sure. Lastly, I know you've been playing Warzone. Any dubs? How's your Warzone skills going?
The internet connection's a bit laggy here, so I'm getting my ass whooped. He was shaking his head.
Alright, man. Best of luck. Looking
Cheers,
forward to
bro.
the fight.
Fucking lags, man.
Next
I'm like, got him.
Yeah, how are you, man?
Yeah, good.
Hey, you've spoken about the trip over with the airports and COVID testing and things like that. I just wondered what's jumped out at you the most about the last few days that's been different to what a normal fight week would look like.
Oh, I'd say the biggest thing would be the fans. Like, I obviously like the fans and having them there, but I didn't realize I'd miss them this much. Like, you gain a lot of energy from the fans, and even the media. Like, when I go and do media and I get to interact with everyone face to face, you can gain a lot of energy. Open workouts, having the fans there cheering you on, supporting, it's something to look forward to, and you look forward to having them all cheering at weigh-ins, having them all cheering at the fight. So that'll be the biggest thing. The just the interaction with the people.
In that same vein, I assume you've been to the Apex before. Have you been before?
No, I've been in Vegas since it's been built, but I actually haven't been. I haven't been to the Apex myself yet. So I'm going. I'm going this afternoon for the production interview. So I'm looking forward to checking it out.
Yeah, so you're going to get a chance to familiarise yourself with the cage and the surroundings and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'll have a look around. I don't put too much into that. Planning it out. I've had my ass whooped in my own gym before, and that's I train in there every day. So it doesn't really matter too much where I fight. It'll just come down to the day.
I know you guys at CKB like to adopt sort of mentalities for different fights. Your last fight here in Auckland was a sort of defend the land type mentality. Do you have a specific one for this fight?
Have some fun. Have some fun. Relax. Go out there and perform. You know, that was a lot of pressure. That was a high pressure situation. You know, 10,000 people of your countrymen, sold out arena. They're chanting your name like that. That was a shit ton of pressure. And then after that fight, I was like, I can't wait to go to someone else's hometown, and you know that pressure be lifted. And so this is kind of like that. This is going out there and there being no crowd at all. Just a handful of UFC staff there watching. So I feel like I'm going polar opposites from, you know, the most high pressure situation you could go to all of that pressure being lifted, so I can really just go out there and showcase my skill to the best of my ability.
And just finally, I just wondered with your sort of limited preparation or slightly different preparation, whether yourself working with Eugene and your other coaches, whether you switched up your preparation fight week wise. I know you're not doing a lot, but have you switched up anything that you would normally do in terms of your actual prep for the fight?
No, not much has changed this week. We come in a little later. Usually I get in Sunday, but I came in Tuesday this time. But I've got used to it already. I've already acclimated. I feel great today. I'm looking forward to going and having my last workout with Eugene this afternoon. So no, I don't think it's changed too much, and I feel just as prepared as I usually would.
Cool, mate. All the best for the fight.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Stephen Barranco. Stephen, your line is in review. Yeah, I think we lost Stephen there, so let's jump to Alistair Bishop.
Catch you later,
with
Steve.
MMA Republic.
And how are you, sir?
Yeah, good.
Fantastic. I just wanted to ask you, you were suggesting earlier you've had a couple of interesting fights in interesting weight classes, one being a tag team kickboxing match at heavyweight. How does that work exactly?
Yeah, that was just a little show we put on at our gym. Yeah, that was just a bit of fun on a Saturday night. We used to do events at our gym, and we would. This is my old gym, not City Kickboxing. We'll bit more Wild West style back in the day, and we would just stack all the mats on crates, and then make a ring in the middle, and then people would just crowd around the crates, and they would be the ring ropes. So if you went to fall out of the ring, all the people would just chuck you back into the middle. And you get back. You could tag whenever you wanted, so you just go out, try to take the other guy's head off, and then you could just come back and tag your mate in. So it's just I guess it's just how we have fun in New Zealand.
The next question was about your weight. That was listed. It seems 85 kilos is quite comfortable your walk-around weight. So what's involved with your weight cut to get down to light weight?
Oh, that's me having a little bit of fun. That's me having a little bit of fun on at other people's expense. I definitely don't walk around at 85 kilos. Like I can tell you that much. I was holding a weight. I'll give away the secret. I was holding a weight when I was on the scale.
The secret's out now. I also want to ask. I see your flight coming in. Obviously, from South Africa, we know our athletes have to deal with some pretty crazy time zones, as you're well aware. What is your theory? I know a lot of fighters have different theories as opposed to either arrive really early or arrive really close to fight night. So was there a theory in this one to get in as late as possible, or was it just kind of with the corona stuff, you just had to go when you could?
I've come through LA for fights, you know, a bunch of times, and I fought in Vegas a few times. Been here to support my teammates. So the trip to Vegas is one of the easier ones from Auckland. It's just 12 hours overnight to LA. I sleep like crazy on the plane. I think I slept 10 of the 12 hours. Then I get up, I get on another plane another hour to Vegas. So for me, I don't really skip a beat. So anything on the West Coast is pretty easy to deal with.
Okay, awesome. And just in terms of New Zealand, South Africa, for example, is still quite hardly hit with the COVID, and the professional fighters are starting to train. What was the vibe like in the pro gyms during the COVID? Obviously, New Zealand was very proactive and seemed to deal with the virus quite concisely. So what was the vibe like in the gyms when you could train?
Oh, it was incredible. Like we went into full lockdown, so our gyms were closed. City Kickboxing was closed for 6 weeks. So 6 weeks all up, we missed out on having all our training partners and our usual routine. So it really made us appreciate it and miss it, because for the last few years, it's kind of something that we've taken for granted. We knew training was on, so you can't get that excited about it. But once you take a 6 week break from something you love, and it makes you really appreciate. So everyone came back with a vengeance. I remember, probably my number one training partner, BJ Bland. I had a bit of a game plan coming into the first sparring session back, but I touched gloves. He blew me in the nose, and then we just tried to take each other's heads off. So we just let all that aggression out, let it get back to normal, and then. But it's come right. It's come right. Got my timing back pretty quick.
Fantastic. And what was that like, having a name like Dustin Poirier hang over you this time? Did you find motivation come easy dealing with all of this stuff, knowing that Dustin Poirier was on the horizon?
Yeah, that's someone you can't take lightly. So it was very easy to stay motivated throughout the lockdown. I never took my foot off the pedal. It was, when we went into, it's called like level 4 lockdown in New Zealand. You have to stay in your house. Everything's shut. You can only go to the supermarket. Having that fight, being dangled in front of you, made it very easy to get out of bed. Made it very easy, under very difficult time to be motivated. I found it very easy to stay on track.
Awesome. You've spoken about a few times, the questions come up a few times today about the possibility of getting past Dustin Poirier and the possibility of facing Khabib versus Gaethje. What would it be like to have a fight like that in Auckland?
In Auckland, that's got to be a pay-per-view. I think that's a pay-per-view, and unfortunately, New Zealand, Auckland, the city that I'm from, doesn't have a stadium big enough for a pay-per-view. There's one down in Dunedin, so I'm definitely open to shifting the show down to Dunedin and having 30,000-40,000 of my hometown people, home countrymen, supporting me.
Fantastic, man. All the best for Saturday night, and we'll catch you on the other side.
Thank you.
Our last question is from Louise Green with MMA Crazy.
Hi, you said previously about this fight being a fan favorite fight. It's a big main event for you, and you also said about not being able to feed off of the fans, especially with weigh-ins and media day and things like that. So how are you expecting it to be on fight night with no fans to feed off?
I guess I'm just gonna feed off the fight. Like when you have a guy like Dustin Poirier standing in front of you trying to take your head off, it's actually pretty easy to get that adrenaline flowing. So it might take a little bit. A couple punches start to land, and that adrenaline starts flowing, and we start fighting. That's the time that you forget the crowd's even there. Once that initial couple of exchanges get made, and you get put on high alert, and you really have to focus, you forget the crowd's even there. You forget the referee, the judges are even there, and you just get concentrated solely on the contest and solely on fighting. So I'm expecting that. I'm taking it as it comes until we touch gloves and until we start mixing it up, and then I'm just gonna enjoy the fight and be focused on the fight and let it play out.
And would you agree that Poirier is your biggest test to date?
Every test is different. Every test is different stylistically. This is the biggest opportunity of my career, so it definitely adds pressure. The biggest name of my career, so that also adds a lot of pressure. But every puzzle is different, and you really don't know how it's going to play out until you get in there.